다들 들어오셨나요? 벌써 네 번째 세션입니다. 정말 시간이 금방 지나가는 것 같은데요. 영어로 last but not least 라는 표현이 있죠. 말 그대로 마지막 세션 역시 정말 알차고 유익한 내용으로 꽉꽉 채워 넣었으니까요. 끝까지 여러분의 적극적인 참여 부탁드리겠습니다. 네 번째 세션은 영어로 진행되는 국제 세션입니다. 코로나19가 변화시킨 행사의 방식이 마이스 베뉴의 변화까지 이끌어오고 있죠. 그래서 이번 세션의 주제는 Transformation of MICE Venue in New Normal, New Normal 시대에서의 마이스 베뉴 변화입니다. New Normal 시대의 마이스 베뉴의 변화와 이에 대응하는 기획자, 주최자, 그리고 서비스 기업들의 방안을 들어보는 시간인데요. 강연을 들으시다가 질문이 있으신 분들께서는 화면 하단에 보이는 QR코드를 스캔하시거나 아니면 문자로 보내드린 질문하기 URL 링크를 접속하셔서 질문을 남겨주시면 되겠습니다. 이번 세션의 패널 여러분은 모두 해외에 계시고요. 따라서 온라인 회의 시스템을 통해서 여러분께 인사드린다고 합니다. 그러면 패널 소개와 Q&A 진행은 링크 팩토리 이형주 이사님께서 수고해 주시겠습니다. 이사님, 세션 진행 부탁드리겠습니다.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm David Hyungju Lee, moderator of session 4, the transformation of MICE venue in new normal. Let me introduce myself first. I'm the general director at Link Factory Company, in which I'm running the venue and the MICE consulting business in Korea. Actually, this session is for people who are considering how to make competitive strategy for venue marketing or venue management issues in this COVID-19 situation. So I think that it's very, very helpful for people who are venue marketers and also even destination marketing companies who are considering the competitive strategy combining hardware and software. So let me introduce three panelists today who are joining with us today. The first panel is Ong Wee Min. He's a vice president of Singapore Marina Bay Sands. Actually, he runs every convention exhibition business at there. So he will talk about the hybrid broadcast studio in Singapore Marina Bay Sands. I know that it's a one and only and the first broadcast studio in Asia. And the second panel is Carrie Haley. She's a vice chairman of Accor Group's Asia Pacific operations, which has several famous hotel brands, including Grand Mercure, Novotel, also in Ibis. So she will introduce the hotel's pricing model that has changed since the COVID-19 situation. And the third panel is Eric Kwang, a CEO of Biz Event Asia, which is a media company delivering the MICE news and the trends worldwide now. So Al will speak to you regarding the communication skills to sell the venue to clients, including PCOs or corporate event planners and so on. Actually, I know that all three panels are in the same place in Singapore place. It's very interesting, and then I think they're very easy to communicate each other. So before we start, let's take a look at a very short video for introducing hybrid broadcast studio in Singapore Marina Bay Sands. And then Vice Chairman Women will start, okay? So let's start.
Well, COVID has definitely affected the way we live. It has caused serious impact for the industry as a whole, especially for the MICE industry. The greatest challenge that the industry is facing now is the ability to drive our content in the best possible manner. So what does the future hold for the MICE industry? We believe in three things. Number one, face-to-face meetings will definitely return because it is born from the need of our communities to meet to transact business, to meet to transact knowledge, and to meet to transact business networks. So the second thing, the successful events of the future will be one that has a face-to-face component with an equally successful hybrid component that's beamed live to a bigger audience. But audiences nowadays no longer think about hybrid meetings or virtual meetings as green screens. Like this, they'll be looking at immersive technology to enable them to capture their imagination and to learn and to accept the content in a better, more engaging way. And the third thing that we believe in is that audiences demand to be wow. And that's why we built the hybrid broadcast studio here at Marina Bay Sands. Incorporating AR, VR, XR, and holographic presence, it serves as a platform to enable our clients to reimagine what a virtual meeting could be. So it's a platform and a tool for our clients to capture the imagination of the audiences worldwide. And this is Wimin signing off from a hybrid broadcast studio here at Marina Bay Sands.
Okay, women, are you ready?
Yes, I am, David. How are you? Greetings from Singapore. How are you, everyone here in Korea? It's nice to meet all of you virtually. In the normal world, we were flown over, but now in the COVID world, we meet virtually. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Wee Min. I'm the VP of MICE here in Marina Bay Sands. I work with 400 team members here in the convention center to deliver unforgettable memories for the 3,600 events that we host annually. So now you have just seen a concept video of the hybrid broadcast studio, a very short 1 minute, 30-second teaser video that we sent out to the industry via LinkedIn, reshared, I think, for nearly 35,000 times, and captured the essence, the concept, and the vision of what we wanted to do with the hybrid broadcast studio. Allow me to take you through the journey of how we began. Well, in the beginning of the year, there were COVID signs already in January. We had a wonderful January, lots of business, and February as well. And then, you know, we could see that something is coming. At the same time, it coincided with a reimagined project that we have here in Marina Bay Sands MICE. It is our 10th anniversary this year. We have redefined meetings and exhibitions and conventions in the market. And the team now set together since the beginning of the year to try to reimagine the future of MICE. Starting from why people meet, to how people meet and how they interact, and more importantly, how we as a meeting venue can be part of the story that our clients tell. No, so the hybrid broadcast studio is not a project in isolation. It is not group of us in Marina Bay Sands thinking, all right, let's do a studio and let's do it this way. It is a project that was co-created together with key members of the industry. We have a client advisory council made up of thought leaders from various parts of the global industry, and also friends globally as well from parallel industries. What we did was we used this group of professionals selectively, okay, respectively as well, as sounding board for some of our ideas. So it took about 3 months for us to plan. To be very frank, the hybrid broadcast studio that you saw in the video was nothing of what we initially imagined. We thought that it would be a green screen studio. Now put a green screen up, and then put a few cameras, and there you go. And then we said, okay, maybe we could put LED walls right in front of the studio and make it more immersive. Then we tested the ideas with these global friends, and they came back to us with a challenge. You hear me? Yeah, so they came back to us with a challenge. The challenge us to be very bold and to truly reimagine how meetings should be like moving forward. So, and then we sat together again and we looked at parallel industries, the broadcasting industry, how news is brought to life to capture the imagination of audiences worldwide. We looked at e-gaming, how they leverage technology like AR, VR, computer graphics, you know, to engage the communities that they form. And look at the sports industry. I'm a soccer fan myself. And we look at how the sports industry, soccer, a live event, was transformed by technology, transformed by broadcasting to create what is truly a very successful hybrid event. A sports soccer game played live, watched by 40,000 fans in the stadium, and watched live by millions worldwide at the very same time. Now, the hybrid broadcast studio is then born. It is born, number one, as a live broadcast studio, not just as a recording studio, because we felt that, you know, it is a live, something that's live and broadcast live, the audiences will be able to better capture the imagination of the audiences worldwide. Immersive tech, two big LED screens with an LED floor. So the floor that I was standing on was also an LED floor. It is holographic presence ready. In fact, tomorrow we have the ICA president being beamed live on hologram into the broadcast studio to join us in a dialogue. And more importantly, it's not just holographic ready, it is also AR, VR, XR, and MR enabled. Many technical terms. So just think of the Weather Channel in the States, how they use technology to bring a flood to life, how a flood will look like in 3 meters, 3 feet, 6 feet, and 9 feet, and how you sweep a car away from the presenter. Think of the newscaster walking the floor with an umbrella and a rain cloud above the umbrella when it's talking to you about potential rainy weather. This is what the hybrid broadcast studio will be able to do. It will serve as a platform, first and foremost, for our clients and their communities to capture the imagination of everyone. And the next thing is to engage audiences worldwide in a bold and accelerating manner like never before. Now, I've got a few more minutes, so I'm just going to talk about the hybrid broadcast studio. A lot of people look at the studio and think, wow, that is the technology and that's nice. In the conceptualization of the hybrid broadcast studio, the technology was part of the conversation. The bigger part of the conversation was the talent, the people that we have, to bring this all together. Look at the setup that you have now. It is a live face-to-face event. And as MICE professionals, it's something that we all are very good at, charting the customer journey and then planning touch points around it. But how do you engage audiences who are joining you on the screen? How do you keep them engaged, keep them interested in your content, and keep them wanting more? I think that's the key. So talent upskilling was very important to allow us to have the right skill sets, our people to be upskilled, learn new skill sets, to enable us to reimagine new business models with the clients, and also collectively reimagine the future. So back to you, David.
Okay, thank you, Women. And then, Carrie, are you ready now?
I am indeed. Thank
Great.
you.
Yeah, so then we're going to start Carrie's presentation, and then continuously Al will speak, and then. Okay, please.
Thank you very much. So first of all, like Yumin, I wish I was in Korea to be with you in person, but it will have to suffice with us being here in Singapore. And I certainly look forward to an invite to the studio, Yumin, very soon. I guess I was reflecting on what I might say to you all today, given that I had a very similar conversation with Elle just a couple of months ago. So I was thinking, like, what's changed? And I think it's important that if, like, even a few months ago, many of us in the industry were still hopeful that meetings to a certain point would return late this year, certainly in 21. And as the months have gone by, it's obviously abundantly clear for all of us in the industry that the crisis is still very real, very present, with many countries facing second, third waves, and borders remaining closed, making what we understand as the MICE business very challenging. So the conversation, certainly on the hotelier side, and I'm sure on the agency side and venue, has really changed to how do we survive this? As hoteliers, I know that in our business, we're asking, what is our role? What is the opportunity in the new world where MICE as we know it has been decimated? And what part do we play in this virtual and hybrid trend, which is going to continue? That said, I think it's also very important to acknowledge that in any crisis, it accelerates trends that were already there. We have been talking about digitalization of the MICE space for a long time. And for many parts, I think it was already present, but now it's just very present in the delivery of events. And that's the part that on the hotelier side and the venue side, we need to now understand, how do we price? How do we play a part? How do we make profit? It's super sad to see so many beautiful hotels and venues closing down all around the world. Closing down quite simply because of cash flow. It's not just hoteliers and venues, it's the agencies. And we're still at the very early stages of what is a global pandemic. And unfortunately, many more agencies will close before the end of COVID. And so I was questioning myself, when we're thinking about future pricing, do we not have an obligation to think and question ourselves, did we ever price right? Did we ever truly articulate what goes into putting a meeting together? What goes into delivering a return on the company experience, the company need versus the attendee of the conference? And I think that's very important as we look towards what could possibly impact our future pricing models. One thing I am sure of is in the future, we have to be absolutely sure that those in our team can confidently explain the value proposition and price confidently for the services provided. Because in the future, every part of the ecosystem that makes an event, from the venue to the agencies, logistic partners, IT, AV partners, has to be independently sustainable. Otherwise, there will be no future in this business that we all so passionately love. So as hoteliers, I think there are obviously many things that are going to challenge the way that we think about pricing. One is contractual terms. I think the language around force majeure and the meaning of that in various parts of the world, along with new clauses around indemnity, are going to play a big part in how we price very complex meetings of the future. In the short term, I think more simple contracting for short lead time, low value pieces of business is perfectly fine. And I think a little bit around the contractual element comes this balance between knowing the customer and flexibility. What are we prepared to give on for better payment terms? And that's going to depend on the individual venue or hotel's individual cash flow. What is the use of your meeting space? Are you even able to price the way you were before? It may be that your ballroom is going to be used to set up a studio. It may be it's going to be converted into office space. So challenging the way we have always thought about pricing per person or per revenue for the space to a certain number of people will definitely be challenged. You may be pricing by the minute, you may be pricing by the hour, you may be pricing in blocks. So I think these things are all have to be taken into consideration depending on the type of hotel and venue you are and the importance of your meeting space to your overall profitability. Trust, I've talked about this a lot on previous engagements. It's definitely a currency, and the more our commercial people in hotels and venues and agencies are able to really understand why a customer is coming to them and what solutions they need to sell, because the solutions we were selling yesterday are very different to the ones that we are selling today. So in summary, I think commercial teams in hotels are going to be more relevant than ever, because they're going to have responsibility for creating what is the future of the MICE industry. So having salespeople who can truly engage with customers, you heard Yumin speak about new skill sets, being able to comfortably articulate how you're going to work with internal or external partners, or how you're going to explain the new costs that are associated with running events in tomorrow's world, with health and safety new norms, with a new requirement on technology for the contactless experience or the hybrid virtual experience is going to be incredibly crucial. Having skilled salespeople who can have real conversations with customers, a trade-off on terms, conditions, flexible payments, etc. This is what's going to make the difference for the hotel sector. And I think the ending message for me is that everyone needs to understand their own value when they're building their pricing models, which are going to have to be fluid. Thank you.
Okay. Actually, I'm very impressed by her message, because she's not talking about not from the provider's view, but customer's view. I think is a very customer-centric perspective. I think is a very good idea. Okay, thank you, Callie. And
Welcome.
finally, okay, Al, are you ready now?
Yeah, totally.
Okay,
안녕하세요. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you about communications, something that is really a true passion of mine. When I observe the way people communicate with each other, especially since COVID, it really transformed the way we really care about people. And I think the care about people is always going to take precedent over any sort of relationship or business conversations that we are having nowadays. Because many times or not, we tend to start the conversation now with, how are you doing? And this is where I will start by recommending some strategies that perhaps you could look into. Now, before we start picking the phone and calling everybody else, we need some form of discipline and agreement in the way we do things. So that is what I call communication operational disciplines. And there are 4 key points I would like you to take note. The first thing is you have to take stock and know how many clients are you willing to call or are you targeting to call. From there, you need to allocate time and also resource. Now, when I say time, you need to be very clear how often are you going to be on the phone or on Zoom or chat via line with that customer. And when we talk about resource, it is not just about the tools. It is about making sure that there's funds set aside for phone calls that you have to make because Line or WeChat or WhatsApp is not working properly that day, the traditional phone methods. Or you have to invest in certain things to make your conversation a little bit more robust other than the product conversation that we are so used to. So that is the first key point. The second key point is understanding your customer communication preference. For example, if I'm a phone person, try not to send me an email because most probably I may not digest that very well. But if I'm an email person, it doesn't mean that I don't want to get on the phone. Perhaps connect with me via email, set the intention, and then I guess convince me to be on the phone with you. So that tactic has to be very streamlined so you know exactly what to do. And also, do you know if your customer is a morning, afternoon, or evening person? I know if I have to call women or Carrie, I know roughly what time I can get their attention and how I should structure my message to get their immediate attention if I need to activate them at the very last minute. The other thing we have to check ourselves is really about habits. You know, we have to have consistent tracking habits so that we know, and we can keep note of the kind of conversation that we had with women yesterday, with Carrie last week, so that when I call them next week, I know where to pick up the conversations from, or most importantly, if I promise them certain action points, that I'll be able to give them an update where we are at. So tracking is everything. The last thing is really the 4th point that you need to note is have very clear intention and objective for each communication. What I speak to women and Carrie this week could be different for 2 weeks' time. So don't assume that everyone is ready to have all sorts of conversation. Your objective needs to be very clear. A negotiation meeting via Zoom, it's very different from a problem-solving conversation via line. Sometimes we need to be on Zoom to see each other's face so that we can read all the different signs of body language that doesn't quite envelope within verbal communication. So these are the disciplines that you have to first get in check. Then the next step we move to is about content and engagement. No point having conversation if we can't engage someone. You know, so we don't want to, I'm not saying that we should not sell. I'm just saying that be mindful that the product update may not be a suitable conversation at the first call. So always ascertain what the, I would say, environment is like, what the customer's company has gone through. Have they recently merged with another company? Have they recently bought another company? Or have they recently retrenched a number of team members? Because it sets the tone of the communication and conversations that you're going to have with them. Now, also, don't be afraid of pauses, because sometimes, whether it's technological glitch, let's say via Zoom, you may hear me 3 seconds later. So sometimes when I find that if you're not responding, I should be sort of like a little bit patient and just go, let's wait and see. So salespeople, don't be too eager to jump in, and also don't speak too fast about how many square meters you have, how many accommodation rooms you have, because I believe that seeing is believing. Be clear with your message. So don't have too many words that distract from the true messaging. So for example, let's say Accor Hotels has a new product. So I will focus that messaging on that product instead of blurring that conversation with other unnecessary topics. If Women's Hotel at Marina Bay Sands has the hybrid broadcast studio, perhaps if I know that value proposition is very important, I need to explain to my customers what are the specs and technical capabilities that sets the hybrid studio apart from a usual studio that we might see in a unique venue, for example. So be very clear on that. Know your audience is very important. If you realize that your customer would like you to do a product update to their coordination team, so make sure you have a lot of facts and figures, because that will empower them to put in the right information as part of the proposal. But if you are speaking to director level, like Carrie and women, you need to think about strategy talk. You need to think about global conversations and concerns. You also need to talk about what trends that are happening. So that comes to my next point, is make sure that you have a mixture of topics ready to speak. So just in case if Peter's boss were to walk into the Zoom call because you really intrigue them, so you are able to bring that conversation to a higher level. Equip yourself with trends, because there are a lot of associations out there that are fantastic, whether it's PCMA, SITE, UFI, they all have certain statistics, certain updates on their conversation. Also work with your convention bureaus in Korea or in Seoul or whichever destination that you are very familiar with or you're working with. Know what their situation is and what are some of the solutions they have. So think big picture before coming to your products and services. Be prepared to curate experiences. Obviously, we can't travel at the moment, but it doesn't mean that I can't have an afternoon tea with a Sofitel in Korea, or I can't have a kimchi making session so that I can understand what a cultural experiences is in a destination like Korea. So these are some of the what we call product education without being too obvious by saying that, oh, we do this and we do that. I think seeing is believing. If you have video capability, let your video do the talking instead of worrying about emailing fact sheets to your customers. The final point I'd like to make is actually some areas that we should not do when we come to conversation. Do not engage in conversation about doom and gloom. Oh, it's so sad, disaster, or anything like that, because it's not productive. In fact, it's reductive to your value proposition. Avoid political talks, avoid religious talk where possible, because it gets a little bit too personal. Also, don't try to avoid having non-factual conversations that you can't back up, because you never know who is going to listen in to a kind of conversation that you have. You don't want to be misrepresented. You want to own your narrative. And most importantly, do not talk about prediction that is beyond your control, and never talk on behalf of your government. Let the government do their own talking. So I hope this point really help you.
Okay, thank you, Al. I think it's very helpful not only to venue sales, but also other business environment sales, communication environment. So please catch up, everyone, his tips. All right, thank you very much. Yes, this is the time for our discussion in between panels and then audiences. So I think it would be better to introduce the audience's questions to you. And then we're gonna talk freely. So there's no time limits. So please share your ideas or thoughts freely, and we're gonna communicate each other. Okay, that's good. All right, so I will introduce some good questions. Actually, we have so many questions from audiences online, and so I pick up some good questions for audiences and panelists. So the first question is to Ong Wee Min. Actually, they are very interested in the money. So the first question is, thank you so much for your insight, women. And then actually, how much US dollars it took to invest your broadcast studio? So how will you get return of investment? I mean, that is there any ROI for the install the studio? Yeah, please.
The number is 2. This hybrid broadcast studio with all the technology will cost about $2 million US to build. It's a huge amount of sum, especially it's a huge amount of money, especially in this business environment. But we believe very strongly that this will be the platform to serve as the future of business events. In terms of ROI, that's definite. We are a company that's 100% privately owned and managed. ROI is everything that we do. We have done our internal sums. The response has been very, very enriching and very, very encouraging. We are very, very confident of way surpassing the ROI expectations of this studio.
Okay, great. There's some very similar questions with this, but so I just skipped that questions. And then the second is, the question is to Carrie. What was the biggest challenge during the change, the price model after pandemic? Could you please tell us for that?
I think it's important to say that we're still changing, right? Because for us, in most of the regions we operate in, China's a bit different. Meetings are not back. So it's learning to gauge how to build bespoke or a la carte pricing that has flexibility in it, depending on the client's circumstances. So it's really more in retraining the teams in how to think around commercial questions and to step away. Elle spoke a lot about removing yourself from the product sell. And this is it, because if you don't understand from the conversation what it is the customer actually needs to use your space for in its new fashion, you can't price for it. But yeah, we've been building products and services with more bespoke and a la carte pricing to help guide the teams. So as always, it's talent, it's re-education, it's training, and it's building the confidence in that new pricing model.
All right, thank you very much. The third question is, I would like to ask to Al. Actually, he's interviewed so many experts in Asia and overall worldwide. So I think you have very good experiences or best cases. So my question is, can you please share us any best changes at the venue after COVID-19 pandemic, according to your thought or experience? Could you please tell us?
Yeah, certainly. I think over the past 6 months, the conversation has always been taken over by health and safety and force majeure definitions and profit margins and so forth. But some of the conversation that we realize as we speak to our community that is still there is about sustainability. The one good thing that I've seen a lot of venues have done, especially in luxury and 5-star hotels, is the fact that they have found a new way of serving food that is not necessarily buffet style. You know, it is a buffet, but in an a la carte format. Is like a, you know, eat till satisfied, you know, kind of concept. But the chefs are able to look at food margins and tailor accordingly. So I think that is one good thing that has turned out. The other thing that I thought has turned out phenomenally is actually you start to see how knowledgeable venues are when it comes to security and safety measures, and how willing they are to invest for an uncertain future. There's something that I have to give a lot of credit to the venues, because it is something that the agencies are still looking at the possibility of investing in that relationship and the return on investment down the track. But I believe that the venues and the hotels are very good at leading the way in that such. Of course, the other thing is you see more collaboration and more communication between countries, whether they are trying to set up green lanes like Singapore has, or travel bubble between Australia and New Zealand, for example. So you can see there's a lot more integration and willingness to collaborate, less doubt, but more benefit of doubt.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I also miss so many local space marketers and also a convention center or hotels, other unique venues in Korea. And they have so similar issues or problems in Korea because of COVID-19. It's worldwide the situation, not just in Asia or not just in one country. So I think that this insight or comments very useful for Korean venue marketers also. So your comments were the tips very helpful for us to know. Okay, so the next question is for all panelists, all of you three. So my question is, what is your expecting scenarios of MICE venue in new normal? It means that how do you expect the situation or the circumstances of a venue industry after the COVID-19? Could you please tell us? Firstly, women, please.
Well, yes, I'm on mute. Okay, so we looked at that question a lot, even before COVID, as part of our Reimagine project. What does the future hold? If you take a step back, the industry is built on the ability and willingness to meet, built upon the need to meet, because we need to meet, as I said in the video, to transact business, to transact knowledge, and to transact business network. So in the post-COVID world, we break it into two different phases. In the immediate post-COVID world, where people could already start to travel because travel restrictions are gradually being lifted, but are people still willing to travel? In this phase, we foresee events to be smaller in nature, and that's where technology comes in. Technology helping us and helping our clients to reach their audiences like in the past in a way never before. What about the future where things return back to normal? We make a very bold statement now. We think when face-to-face returns in the future, it will go hand in hand with a hybrid component. So think a 5,000 people conference in Korea meeting now, right in the same venue as the keynote speaker is speaking, is broadcast live to a wider audience to capture their imagination. Someone asked me, what about virtual exhibitions? In my opinion, that will go away. It's a difficult thing to have an ROI discussion on virtual exhibition, building a virtual building, and then having little avatars moving and seeing like in the Lazada or Amazon store. I don't think that has been pretty much as developed as the meetings parts of the segment of our industry as yet. I think as a standalone product, that will probably go away if it's matched together with a face-to-face product. So you meet in a trade show for 5 days, and you have an online presence for your exhibitors in the O2O2 omni-channel market. I think that will work in the future. But again, there is a lot of things to reimagine. There's a lot of crystal balling. And the last thing that we foresee is in the future, trade shows of the same kind in different parts of the world to collaborate even more. Because COVID has showed us how it is possible to have an Asian theater, a European theater, and a North American theater. And that, I think, could point possibly to the future of trade shows.
Great, I think, yes, I also agree with your opinion. So what about Kelly? How do you expect the future?
I would probably echo a lot of what you just said, Women. So I think the conversations we're having with customers is really around what's going to happen now and what they predict in the future. And to your point, you've just mentioned that I think the new normal post-COVID is about understanding the trend will already have been established to use virtual and hybrid. So the decision will be what constitutes value in coming back pure face-to-face, or will the new norm really always continue to have the virtual and hybrid element, because there may be many of the audiences who still don't feel comfortable to travel, right, depending on where it is. I think domestic meetings in the markets where there is strong domestic demand will be the first sign of obviously largest recovery in the face-to-face environment. But, you know, like you, I don't really have much more to add. I mean, hybrid is here to stay. Technology where you can mix your audiences present. And actually what will be more interesting for brands as they move forward is the pre and post engagement when you have digital audiences joining live audiences. And we'll all be learning a lot of new skills along the way. Over to you.
Well, for me, obviously in agreement with what Carrie and Women has said earlier, one of the things is I think COVID has forced all of us to break certain habits that we could not break for a decade. So it really helped push us out of our comfort zone and more willing to adapt. So if you see some of the trade show in China, for example, whereby they are doing live streaming from factory in a manufacturing exhibition, so that manufacturers could see what the factory in China actually physically looked like. So they were able to track immediate transaction. So which means that the future venues will be more inclusive, whereby if I am a hotel amongst factories, I most probably will collaborate with them so that they can do their showcase at their respective factories virtually. And then the hotel will be hosting the meeting, whether it's closed door or more high level, or like do an exclusive buyout for a particular experience. So it's not just one single event. I think the future will be about multiple events across multiple time zones and only certain parts of a day.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Your opinion is a little bit different, but I think that you are believing that the resilience of this MICE industry after the COVID-19. Okay, then I'd like to move on to more specific questions regarding the venue management. So the next question is for the women. Actually, you know, the Singapore Marina Bay Sands is very popular in Korea, not only for MICE planners, but also general tourists. Actually, they love to go there. So they're very curious about how react to this COVID-19 situation. So the question is, actually Marina Bay Sands is connected with a huge shopping center. So how can you share the safe guideline with the storekeepers and then cooperate with them?
I just want to start off by saying we miss all of you too. So till we meet again. We are not only a convention center, we are not only a shopping mall, we are not only a hotel, we are integrated resort, we are everything. So since the beginning of the year, I think now currently health and safety considerations are the new baseline. It is basic. I cringe when I hear people saying, "Oh, health and safety, we clean our rooms this many times, and therefore it's a USB." It's not. It is a baseline. Now, so at the beginning of the year, we set forth as part of Singapore's initiative. In April, we got the SG Clean accreditation, which is a stamp of approval from the Singapore government across all venues of public gathering, be it a hotel, a restaurant, or a MICE venue like us. And in August, we looked at international accreditation because a lot of our clients are international in nature. So we looked at the Safeguard Hygiene, Excellence and Safety label by Bureau Veritas. It is a 200-year-old organization, accreditation and testing organization based in France. So they have got this accreditation, so we got that as well. And we incorporated both accreditations into our cleaning processes. So it is a partnership, be it with our retailers. We are home to about 300 retail partners. So we work hand in hand with them to define the cleaning processes and health and safety processes. So when you step into a venue in Singapore, not just Marina Bay Sands, you need to register into the venue, and you go into a shop, you need to register again. This is basic. This is basic. So it is all part of the Singapore approach of a very, very safe, very, very cautious, and very, very phased reopening of the Singapore economy.
Thank you. Carrie, how's your hotel? Any guidelines for that? Yeah.
So it's a little bit different in our circumstances because obviously being working for a brand, we have some 1,200 hotels across the region. And to the same point, we're working very diligently also with Bureau Veritas and another partner, Diversi, and we introduced an All Safe label, which every hotel must be accredited for. So this was introduced about 2.5 months ago, and of that 1,200, we're around the 750 hotels accredited. And it's fundamentally around 16 core elements that every hotel must follow, including having this All Safe officer. So on top of that, which is a global standard for Accor, we must partner with the local authorities. So here in Singapore, of course, the hotels have also worked closely to get their accreditation for SG Clean. And we will do that with the relevant government bodies and make sure that the All Safe is either supersedes the local authorities, but certainly we'll go through both processes. We take that very seriously, and we know to get consumers confident to book again, to meet again, these are the absolute basics that go along with the future. You know, I think you know, the reality is we're also looking into a second label, which is All Meet Well, which will be an association to All Safe, and again focus more really clearly helping our customers understand what happens within the customer journey from pre-arrival to departing the hotel in a meeting or event capacity when you choose one of our brands.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. The last question, I think this is the last question for our session, is I'd like to ask you, Al, how do you, if you recommend to our venue industry marketers or venue managers, what is the biggest issues or the topics to be solved or to be developed for reacting this situation? Can you recommend that?
Yeah, I always, because, well, the good thing about having international brands like, you know, Accor, Marriott, and so forth is that, you know, they do have some form of standards and SOPs that people do expect as they go into their preferred brand. The only thing I would say is to make sure that for each destination to hound in on their culture, what it means to be Korean. This is how we work together to make things work. This is how Singapore work together to make things work. This is the Australian way of solving problems. So I feel that don't be shy to put your culture at the forefront so that you become a very desirable destination. An example will be, if you look at a very attractive destination like Bhutan, you know, they may not have a lot of luxurious brand. In fact, you do have to still pay a daily fee to be in Bhutan, but it is a bit of an aspirational destination that people are on their, I mean, they're on people's bucket list. Why is that so? And I think there is a certain charm that they are able to leverage on. They are able to say, listen, this is who we are. We may not have all the bells and whistles, but when you come to Bhutan, you will leave perhaps a more peaceful person, or you are able to switch off and get your mental health in check and things like that. So it's to have those sort of conversation, not because your product and your websites are able to explain themselves. But I think the challenge next is to have real connection when you have conversations with people. So the people and culture is still matter.
Thank you, Al. I wish I could hear more from you, but I think the time's up. So anyway, I really appreciate for your endeavor and the passion to deliver smart ideas and insights for our industry players in this after COVID-19 pandemic. So thank you very much. And I really hope to see you in person as soon as possible someday. All of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
감사합니다.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Time's up. Bye.
Thank you. 네.